Hey, welcome to another Whiskey Wednesday with Evan and Thaddeus of On Purpose Media, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. So today we have a wonderful guest, Joseph from High Performing Contractor. Super excited to dive in with a conversation with him on what it means to really be in business, not just to grow a business, but also to grow as a person and within your family as well. But before we get too into that, I know, Thad, you wanted to share a little something about today being Veterans Day and Remembrance Day.
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to take away from the day just by us recording this video. So there's been a lot of sacrifices made by those around the world, and this is our time to sit back and remember the sacrifices that they made so we could live the life that we have today. So to all of those fallen, all of those currently serving, we definitely raise our glasses in a salute to you, and we'll do that by honoring them with a quick moment of silence for ourselves. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, let's dive into it. Joseph, super excited to have you on. I know we chatted a little while ago, so let's start off by introducing yourself. Tell us what you do, and go from there.
Yeah, Joseph Toppy with High Performing Contractor. So I work with business owners in the trades to help them essentially use their business to make a greater impact. So a greater impact in their lives, in their families, in their communities, and looking at three specific areas. One being the business finance, taking control of your business by increasing your profitability and having a better understanding of finance. Two, better leadership and employee management. And three, strategic operating systems, creating that operating system for your business to provide you more of that time freedom to be able to go and live the lifestyle that you desire.
No, I love that. We chatted before, it was the business triangle, and that's the importance of those three different things on there. So let me ask, if you were to pinpoint of those three in order of an importance, what would you say would be the order of importance?
So when we're looking at a business triangle, within any business, there's three essential businesses. One is your sales and marketing, one is your operations, and one is your business, finance, HR, that kind of thing. So I would say order of importance would be, one would definitely be your business side of it, having that foundation of business. Two would be your operation. So taking and looking at the actual work, the do portion, making sure that you have the skill, you have the talents, you have the abilities. And three would be the sales and marketing. Now, sales guys don't generally like me when I say that, but so be
it. Well, it's funny, actually. Evan and I were chatting about this today, and anybody that has a business partner out there knows that you chat sometimes daily, multiple times a day with your business partner, and then there's some days where you don't really talk at all. But I think this is our fourth chat of the day, one of those days. But we were talking about the hockey stick growth for businesses, and how do you get a hockey stick growth in a business. And it's okay, well, you have to put in a lot of the foundational success systems in order to be able to rapidly scale and grow. So the order makes 100% sense. And I mean, we're marketing guys, and we're like, nah, marketing should be number one. But no, we're like, no, that makes a lot of sense, because in order to be able to have scale and have growth, you have to have foundation.
Absolutely. I think this is where a lot of businesses, when they're looking at growth, they grow without putting deep roots in, and it ends up, it's like a tree. When a tree grows in sand, the roots have nothing to hold on to. They can't grow deep. So big, strong wind or first sign of any issues, the tree falls over. And it's the same with most companies. If they don't build that foundation, you can have all the sales in the world, but your sales will end up crippling you and putting you out of business. I always use the phrase, and it's so true. I've seen more companies go out of business due to too much sales without a proper foundation than companies that went out of business for a lack of sales.
No, it that definitely makes a lot of sense, because again, it goes back to that foundation, right? So where did you talked, about the three triangles. Where did you learn that? I think I know we chatted one-on-one that you had a business, but tell everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. So I've owned and operated companies within the construction industry for the last 20 years. And a lot of what I've learned came through the actual business owner in the trenches and doing the work and running the businesses, along with, mentorships and formal training and things like that. But really coming up with that business triangle was just formulated through taking business and looking at the business science of what it takes to have a company and a business that is successful, not just, an operator essentially, or owning a job.
100%. So what, when it comes to the operations, because I want to dive into each of the three systems here, and you saying the operations, that foundation is being the most important, what do you see is the biggest pitfall or the biggest struggle for a business owner or contractor in developing those systems?
Not knowing what they stand for or their vision. So I don't call them core values. I call them benchmarks. So when I'm working with contractors, and we're going over this, I call them benchmarks, because essentially that's what they are. Is it's easy to say, honesty, integrity, professionalism. Well, let's dive deeper. What are they, right? And that they now become your benchmark. Hiring process. I'm not hiring I'm not hiring based on talent. I'm hiring based on, whatever my benchmarks are. I'm making all of my choices based on what my focus is, my core focus, my niche. I think I was telling Thaddeus this, I was working in a strategic meeting just a few weeks ago with a company, and we got down, they were typical honesty, integrity, professionalism, right? So we worked through that, and we got to their niche, and it was, changing the way the industry is looked at and operates, was their focus. And their niche was full scope, high-end full scope renovations. So now they have, between their core values or their benchmarks, their focus and their niche, they can weigh every decision based on that. So now they're not, spraying and praying when it comes to marketing or when it comes to what jobs to take or who to hire. They're laser focused. So now they can, weigh, it gives them that scale to weigh everything on.
Love that. It's their why, right? Why are they in business? Exactly. And when you can get crystal clear on that, like they did, I mean, that, like you said, that influences your hiring, that influencing your sales staff. And even more impactful is that when you get that clear, when your sales staff can go out and communicate that to a client, that's when you've got a really hot why. I love that. Another thing that came up for me was when you said benchmarks. To me, that's a standard, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to get what you tolerate.
Absolutely.
And whatever that base minimum is that you're going to accept in your business, that base standard, that's what you're going to get. Tony Robbins talks about this, right? Raise your standards. Mm-hmm. You want to raise the quality of life, raise your standards. And that to me is that. I love that. What are some quick tricks or easy ways for a business to implement some of these systems for themselves, like short of hiring you and bringing you in to help figure this out? Are there some questions that you can provide for a business owner?
For sure. I think the biggest thing, especially when we're looking at this, is one of the best things a business owner can do for himself is take a moment to step back, right? It's so easy to just, especially if it's busy season, or, I mean, we're up in Canada. I don't know about you guys, but we got a ton of snow. I'm looking out the window. We got snow this weekend, right? So it's easy to, oh my goodness, I got to get just involved, get projects wrapped up. But it's one, just take a step back and ask yourself, what are my standards? What are my benchmarks? What are the things that I, as a person, as the business owner, that's important to me? So when I look at my company, the very first benchmark that I have in my company is to make an impact, right? Because for me, it's important for me. So now I bring that into my company, right? I want to make an impact. That's first standard we have, right? So really, just for business owners out there, take that step back. Whether it's at night, whether it's weekend, whether it's a rain day, a snow day, or whether it's, get the crew started and take 2 hours and just ask yourself, what is it that I stand for? And what is the direction of the company? Where is it going?
Let me ask you this, Joseph, what's your why for why you have high performing contractor?
Yeah, for sure. So that is really to help business owners use their business to create a greater impact. You asked me if I had a tagline earlier. Not really, but I do have something that I believe in. It's, we're in business and we should create a business that provides us the lifestyle we desire, right? Anything short of that, we're just owning a job.
Yeah, and even like Evan, I think you had a post earlier, in the week on something like that. I've been reading the E-Myth Revisited, and that's what they talk about. If you're not building a lifestyle and building in these systems, you're essentially buying yourself a job. Like, what happens if you to go on vacation for a week or 2 weeks and you want to turn your cell phone? I was going to grab my cell phone and hold it up, but it's sitting on a tripod right now. But what happens if you want to, here we go. Just pull this over. There you go, my cell phone, right? What happens if you want to turn and disconnect that off, right? Like there's no way if it's just you without these systems in place to be able to do that. So it's almost like the vacation test, so to speak, to be able to build that lifestyle that you want. So, I love it. I love that you help that, right? I mean, that's obviously one of our whys too. We actually have quite similar whys, is to be able to help those business owners to be able to, free themselves up from being on the tools all day long, and to be able to create these systems and these marketing structures in place so that that way they can create a lifestyle of their dreams. That's why they got into business in the first place, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, let's take a
do you want to do a random
bit of a
question
left turn here?
Random question, left turn?
Random question, left turn. Let's do it.
All right. Joseph or Evan? Who wants to take this one? Actually, let's give it to her. We've hit our guest numerous times with one. Yeah, always to the guest. Evan, I think you're going to take this one. What is the most overrated product out on the market? What is the most overrated product out on the market? That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Well, since this is, we talk about sales and marketing, I'll dive into marketing, and I will say the most overrated. And
if anybody that is watching live, feel free to drop your answer while I'm buying some time for Evan to think about his. Feel free to drop your answer in the comments on what do you think is the most overrated product on the market. I think we have a
I would probably have to go with, honestly, the Google one. It's just incredibly hard to show up there in most marketplaces. Did I cut out there?
Yeah, you cut out there. Cut out for me, okay. Anyways. I didn't hear it. Joseph, you're fine. Maybe my internet just sucks.
So I would say the Google Home Services, that Google Guarantee green check mark on there. The reason I say that is they charge per lead. A lot of companies have to dispute those leads when it's not actually an authentic lead that's coming through. And so it's costing them a lot of time to go back and dispute those leads. And 3 weeks ago, Google came out with a beta test that they are now offering a max bidding strategy when it comes to those Google Home Services leads that are coming in. So while I do still see some value in that, I also think that it is an overrated product in that you can still do AdWords, you can still do proper SEO, Facebook ads, right? Like there's just other mechanisms that you can do to help show up. I'd still go for it for majority of businesses. I just don't know if I would be willing to outbid other businesses for those leads.
No, that's I mean, a lot of the consumers don't know either that the Google verified or the Google guaranteed is a paid ad.
Yep.
So, Evan, you're gonna love this. My mom, who's watching, you're our biggest fan. Thanks, hi mom. She says serum for women's wrinkles. So obviously she's tried it and she still has wrinkles. I think is what she's getting at there. So. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
I'll see you later tonight. All right, now back to your left turn.
All right, my left turn. I wanted to take a dive into finance, being part of your triangle there. This is something, actually, I put out a post on this earlier this week, in that a lot of business owners that we're having conversations with, I come across the fact that they're struggling to hire and they're struggling to grow because they don't have enough money to do that. So the question that I posed in my post was, are you charging enough for your services? And have you actually put thought into that? Or are you just going off of the market? But I'm curious, in your position, coming into contractors' businesses, how are you helping them with their finance? And is that something that you're seeing as well, where they're either way overcharging for the value they're bringing or undercharging?
Absolutely. So I definitely see both sides. Yeah. And it all boils down, you take it all and you boil it down. It comes to a lack of knowledge, a lack of financial intelligence, a lack of knowing their numbers, right? I always ask, how much does your employee cost you, right? Well, if you can't tell me down to the penny, right? I pay him 25, but he's costing me, 29.62. If you don't know that number, then how do you know what you're charging is enough, right? Your equipment, your vehicles, what is your overhead? If you don't know what your overhead is, right? That's part one of that. Part two is, how do you recover your overhead? Then if you don't know that, then all you're doing is really taking a stab in the dark when it comes to bidding or estimating or quoting. I work a lot with guys that do quotes and estimates and bids. And I like simple. I like making business fun, and I like simple. So what I teach when it comes to bidding or estimating or quoting, that all it is, you ready? I will give you the most simplistic, accurate description of what bidding is. Recovering your costs, recovering your expenses, and getting paid to do it. That's all it is. It's recovering my costs, the things that it takes to produce the product or service, right? Recover my expenses, all of my overhead, what it takes to be in business, and getting paid to do it, my profit. So if you don't have an understanding of, first, what things are costing you, what your numbers are, and then two, how to, and this comes into, we're crossing the line of knowing to financial intelligence, knowing what markup is and what you should be charging, like what your markup should be, right? Then just plain financial ignorance. And either way, you're going to crash and burn.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, quote I had written down, charging what it costs to do the job.
And this is what, you know, I a lot of times guys, especially when they're first starting out, right? Because guys they need money. They need, you know, so they're bidding to get a job, right? When you bid to get a job, you're going to lose your shirt, right? That's when you start undercutting, you start discounting, you start, you know, money on that project. But then there's the intrinsic, you know, loss of, I could actually during that time be doing a job that I'm making money on. So
Absolutely.
I highly hope that was a great conversation, because I missed all of that because my internet sucks.
I noticed we lost you there, bud. It's all good.
Yeah, I left twice. So cool. Well, follow-up question.
No, Joseph was talking about the idea that you need to have a get out of bed cost, and that bare minimum that I'm not going to get out of bed unless I am making X. And I love that. And just knowing your numbers. You know, so many guys don't even know what their break-even point is for the year, right? You have to know your gross profit margin in order to do that. And unless people are diving into their numbers and knowing it down to a T, like Joseph talked about, they're never going to figure that out.
And I think a lot of it is, you know, there's so much out there to talk about sales, right? And it's, I mean, I can scroll through social media and every, you know, fifth, you know, page is going to be an advertisement on increase your sales, increase your, right?
Well, because that's the sexy number.
I use sales is sexy, right?
Yeah.
Numbers are not sexy, right? I mean, I couldn't be a sales coach. I'm not sexy enough, right? And it's, you know, so they say, you know, sales, sales, sales. But I mean, I can teach anybody to sell a $20 bill for $10.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you can sell like a son of a gun if you're selling $20 bills for $10, but are you making any money?
Totally.
So.
And you see it all the time. I mean, techs are usually the ones that are not going to undercut the market and try and over discount. But the sales guys, they're doing whatever they can to get a sale. And so they're going to over discount, which, I mean, if you've got a big company, you need those types of sales to happen to make sure that your service guys are going out and at least working. But yeah, if you don't know your numbers and you don't know what your max discount is that you can give on a unit, how do you know if the company's profitable? And that's where I think that transparency of the owner to say, like, this is how the numbers break down. We're not profitable when you discount at this level. And if the sales guys aren't bought in, they don't know that.
Well, I think it's oh, sorry. Go for it.
No, go ahead. Go for it. You're the guest. My internet connection says I'm unstable, so I'll probably lose it again. So.
Is it just your internet, or?
Probably a little bit of both.
So, you know, I think the big part of it is that whole knowing your numbers, right? I mean, the sales guys, they're instructed to go sell, but unless the owner knows what the numbers are, and there's, you know, the business industry, especially in the trades, is not set up for training of knowing your numbers. You know, I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day. He actually, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Service Box or Job Box. It's a in a software for the trades, right? So it's up there with like Service Titan and Single Ops and Code Construct, that kind of thing. But all of them, and I was having this conversation with them, all of them, their starting point for the program or the software expects the business owner to know what business numbers to plug into them. They don't come back and say, okay, to know what to charge per hour for your skid steer, enter these numbers in and it'll calculate out, right? Because it's more than just what you on expenses in a year, right? To figure out equipment, there's more factors that come into play. Or, plug these numbers in here to figure out what your employee is costing you per hour, right? They just say, okay, how much is your employee costing you an hour? And so nothing's doing the
Have that anywhere where you can give that away? Like, is there even just an Excel spreadsheet that someone could download?
So I have some. So all of that accuracy with numbers, I actually developed a program called Construction Numbers Mastery, which
Nice.
walks a business owner through developing their 12 numbers. So I've established 12 numbers that are essential for every business owner to know. First, taking a look at your management, financial intelligence. The management is an expense, not a cost, right? Your management shows up on your overhead budget, not in your cost of goods sold. So starting with your management, it asks the question so that it can develop what they cost you per hour, what their labor burden is, and then to their vehicles overhead, tells you what your markup needs to be to hit the sales goal with the profit margin that you're looking at, equipment, labor, crew, all these numbers. So Construction Numbers Mastery was, again, it was designed because that starting point is, it's halfway through the game. It's like starting on the 50-yard line. And it's saying, hey, no, we need to know these numbers. So they can find that on my website, Construction Numbers Mastery, my website, highperformingcontractor.com. But I do have some free downloads of a equipment worksheet, equipment cost worksheet. So it's just a worksheet that I pulled out of the Construction Numbers Mastery just to give to people, as well as a labor cost worksheet. So again, pulled that one out of the program just for people because they're the two most costly areas of business, and two that I find a lot of people are unsure on what their numbers are. So, and both of them can be found on my website at highperformingcontractor.com as well.
Perfect. I was just about to ask that. My internet's back now. So we had wanted a comment of needing a link to the construction numbers. So I'll drop that to highperformingcontractor.com and they'll be able to find that on there.
Love it. All right.
I have no questions right now because I missed a lot of that convo. So I'm hoping that my internet's really stable. It's funny.
Awesome.
I've just been struggling. Like my laptop, like I don't know if it's my laptop or if it's my actual internet, because like when I start my laptop up in the morning, I shut it down every day. But when I start it up, it doesn't get to full bars. It's only 2 or 4 bars, and I got to restart it. And it looks like you guys are frozen, and I'm probably frozen. So I'll let you guys talk, and I'll just kind of remain quiet in the background. The internet, my God.
Whew. Okay. Oh, funniest thing that I've had happen, why my mind was wandering. Walked into a women's washroom.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, it wasn't at the time. So,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Mind was on other things, and I thought I saw a pair of pants, but it was a skirt apparently. So
Nice. Nice. Yeah, it's funny. I read that right away. My first thought was running a training seminar. I used to run an organization where I was leading a sales staff, and I was in the middle of a training seminar. And I mean, they were 18-hour training seminars, so it wasn't short. And by the time you've run, a few of them in a row, it's almost just like autopilot. And yeah, I was standing at the front, and I was given this little lecture on part of the seminar, and my mind was just completely gone thinking about a football game later that night. And I just kept going and going, and then I paused, and I totally had no idea where I was or what I was supposed to be talking about next. And yeah, it was not fun in front of 30 people looking to you as the leader.
I bet.
Speaking of leadership, the third point of the triangle, leadership, leading an organization. Now, this is something that most people, they think leadership is born and not made, but I do believe that there are elements of it that can be taught. I'm curious, what is it that you see in contractors where this is really an area that's lacking in their business?
I think the one is the reason they got into business, a lot of them in the first place. It was, they're upset with a boss, or they think they can make more money, so they have a skill and a talent and an ability, and they jump in, and they never taking the time to think of, okay, this is going to put me in a place where I need to, one, be on my A game. I need to have my foundation. I need to be able to lead people. So I think that's one of the biggest ones in the with the contractors in that industry.
Nice. Yeah, you see it all the time. Guys jumping into it just to make another buck, or because they were irritated with something to do with that industry or their boss, or they got fired, and so they decided to go into business for themselves. And again, that comes back to your why. Like, what is it that you stand for? What is your reason for being here? What is it that you are going to provide for clients that nobody else can? Right? I love that. When it comes to setting goals, because I find, like, let's face it, we're heading into 2021. As a leader, oftentimes we sit there and say, well, it's my responsibility to be able to set goals, and to dictate where we're going to go in 2021 after 2020 was just a complete clusterfuck of a year for most businesses, where you were just flying by the seat of your pants, hoping to figure things out as you were going. When it comes to goal setting, how is it that you see leaders doing it right or doing it wrong? And being able to lead their team and set goals effectively, utilizing the team to come up with that and get their buy-in.
For sure. I think both right and wrong with goals, it starts with vision. So if you have you need to have a 5-year vision. You need to know where you're going. So I'll put this in analogy I always use. So if I was to I'm taking a family vacation to Florida, right? That's where I'm going, right? I now plan my route. Okay, day 1, I'm going to be staying here. Day 2, I'm staying here. These are my, my targets, right? So then I know I'm going to jump on this highway to get to my target, which is going to get me to my end goal. I'm going to jump on this highway, and then I need to turn on this highway, and then I need to turn on this highway, and it's going to take me to target number 1. And then I can spend the night, and then same thing. And it's the same with goals. Too many times I see people, they take and they plan goals by just, let's call it rectal extraction, you know, pulling it out of their rear on, oh, something sounds good. Oh, I'm going to make $2 million this year, and we're going to increase by, 10% of our, employee staff. Okay, you have 23, you're going to increase, 2.3, where it, but, they, instead of saying, okay, first off, and this is when I work with companies on doing a strategic plan, part of that is, okay, first, before we look at today, tomorrow, a year, let's look at 5 year. What's your vision for 5 years? Where do you want to see this company? What do you want to see? Not just the company, where it's, oh, this much in sales and this much in, no. Okay, how's it running? Who's it impacting? What's it doing, right? So then after that, let's look at your 3-year plan, right? So in 3 years, what are you going to be doing to getting you closer to that 5-year vision? Then your 1-year goal. What in the next 1 year are the goals or the steps to get you closer to the 3-year, which is going to get you closer to the 5-year? And then looking at your 90-day, I call them rocks, based on the, I don't know if you guys ever heard the story of the guy with the glass cylinder and pouring rock. Yeah, okay.
100%.
So, and you're
but you should share it again for any of the 4 people that haven't seen it.
Okay, so there was a professor that walked into his university class, and he had a glass cylinder, empty glass cylinder, and next to it he had 4 smaller glass cylinders. One carried water, one carried sand, one carried gravel, and the other one carried rocks. And he began to tell the class, explaining that the items or the elements in these glass cylinders were replicative of things in life. So he said, the rocks are your most important things that you need to accomplish or get done in life. The gravel are the next kind of, important, sand. And then your water is your Facebook scroll, your Candy Crush, right? All of that. And the first cylinder he took and he poured the water in, the sand, the gravel. And then when he went to put the rocks in, the rocks would not fit. It didn't matter how much he shook. It didn't matter how much he pushed in. The rocks would not fit in. So then he took another glass cylinder with the same 4 elements, but this time he placed the rocks in first, then the gravel, then the sand, shook it up a little bit, and poured the water, and everything fit in. Same size cylinders, same amount of content. And the moral of it was that if we work on the things that move the needle or most important first, and work our way down from there, and we allocate our time and we put our energy and effort into those things, that you can get a lot more in your cylinder or what's represented your personal capacity. So going back to the goals, those 90-day rocks, what are those most important things, right? So when we're looking at that, if we're looking again on a road map from here to Florida, right? Your 90-day rocks, your 1-year goal, your 3-year plan should all be in line leading you to your 5-year vision, right? There's been many times that I've actually, my wife and I, we've driven from here to Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We go there all the time. We know the route. We can drive it blindfold. Well, sometimes just to break up the, numbness of it, we will, instead of heading on the normal highway, we'll head west and then straight up. Well, we get to the same place at the end of the day, but it takes us longer. There's more decisions, there's less familiarity because we're not in line with where we're going. We're taking a different route that's longer. And so many times, if you're not if you don't have your vision, your 5-year vision and your 3-year plan, when you're setting your 1-year goals or your 90-day rocks, if you don't have that and visit it and know where you're going, you're going to take the long way around to try to get to where you're heading. So instead of 5 years, maybe it's going to take you 7 years or 8 years. So
I love that. I love that.
I love the analogy too. Now that I've actually had a period of time where I actually was able to listen and not getting kicked off Zoom, I can actually ask a follow-up question. So yay, internet. So when you have like your 90-day, your 1 year, your 3 year, 5 year, how often do you go back and revisit that? And what are you adjusting along the way?
Absolutely. So I generally will look at, or I'll tell you a personal one first and then a business one. So my wife and I, we've sat down, we've created this, we have, where we want to go, our vision and everything. We actually go to a coffee house every Saturday morning. We call it our battle board review. And every Saturday morning we sit down, we get ourselves a coffee and we review it. And we keep it before us. And on a personal level, what it does for us is now we have something to weigh every decision based on. So every decision we make in the next week, it's a decision of, does it lead us to this? If it's not, then there's a better decision to be made. Because, for us, we want to end up there, right? So in business, it's a good idea. I know a lot of guys will just do it quarter. I know a lot of guys that don't even review any of it, but
I was going to say, most of them write it down on a piece of paper. It goes in the drawer and then we pull it out again next year. We're doing next year's plan.
Exactly.
Or they say, or it's like, I got the goals and they're all up here and they're not even written down anywhere.
Oh, totally.
And if it's up here, and here's one of the biggest issues is, if all that stuff is up here, then is your team rowing in the same direction as you are?
No.
Does the team know where they're going? But I like to review those business ones either in your weekly meetings or monthly meetings. Sometimes it can become a little cumbersome to review them in weekly meetings when you're trying to zip through a weekly meeting and being as most efficient. But definitely in your monthly and absolutely in your quarterly meetings. And I think that goes back to, establishing those meetings and establishing those points in time when you're taking and reviewing, so going to a quarterly meeting and reviewing, not what happened in the quarter, that's important, review what took place in the quarter leading up to that, but then saying, okay, are we still in line? Are we on the right highway leading us to our 5-year? If not, what shifts, what adjustments do we need to make? Or is our 5-year need to get shifted slightly, right? And but reviewing and really taking a look and asking those questions of, are we on the right track? Are we accomplishing the things that need to accomplish to get us to the end goal?
So here's what I'm hearing with that is, how do we have a relationship with our goals and not just set it and forget it and hope and pray, cross our fingers that it's actually going to happen?
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was like and even more than your business story, the personal one. I love that so much. The weekly scheduled habitual meeting that you have with your wife. Imagine if that was part of a daily practice that a business owner had, or even a weekly practice that they had. I think the destination that they end up at would be remarkably different.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a quick story about the personal one, and I'll go on to the relationship. So with my wife and all, so we actually have a huge change coming up. We're doing a pretty big move, which will end up being a pretty huge Downsizing. So we're getting ready to move to a smaller town, a house that we own. It's been a rental house for whatever, and it takes our square footage and cuts it. Oh my goodness, I bet you it cuts it a third of the square footage of what we have now. So on the outside, I mean, we have a nice house in a decent city, and on the outside, it would be like, that sucks. It's a sucky move. It's, but we have about 4 more years in Canada, and that's it. Then we, move on to our next area in life, our next season in life. So because we have this vision and we review it every time, we were able to weigh this move and go, okay, does it line up? Well, when we look at it financially, it's like it'll expedite what we're able to do. Relational with family and children and things like that, it's going to bring us all so much closer. It gives us so much more ability, even on an impact and serving. It'll give us the ability to have a place that is smaller, to where it's easier for us to get up and leave, for a couple weeks or a month or whatever, and go travel and do what we want to do. So it completely aligns with what our vision is. So again, from the outside, it's like, this is a sucky transition and a horrible, you can look at it and be like, nope, discount it, not happening. We're going to stick where we're at. But because we review everything and we have that in front of us, we're able to go, you know what? We can make this work and it's going to be awesome, right? So how to have a relationship with your goals rather than just, it being a set it and forget it kind of thing is the same as any relationship. Spend time with it, right? I mean, if I got married and my wife stayed in, over here and I was over here and, we didn't talk to each other, we didn't visit, right? What kind of relationship would you have, right? You want that. I love that term, relationship with your goals, and with your vision, is spend the time with it, review it, look it over, you make those adjustments. There's times where we'll sit down on a Saturday and it hasn't happened in a while, but there'll be time we sit down and we review it and it's like, dude, I've already accomplished that. Cross off, right? Or, oh, you know what? I think this instead of that, right? And, we added a year in our goals. So we had a goal, or our vision was 2025 to go out to New Zealand. And one of our dreams we wanted to do was camper van around North America. We were fortunate enough to spend 7.5 months in an RV around North America with the kids. But one of our goals was to camper van for a year ourselves. So we're sitting down and we're reviewing this and it's like, yeah, that's great. Oh man, we want this year. So we pushed New Zealand to 2026 and we threw in 2025, to camper van and to do kind of first responder, natural disaster kind of relief work. Right? So it's like, oh geez, our whole vision got blown out of the water. No, we extended it and we brought something that aligned with the whole impact and fun and adventure and what we want to do. So, having that relationship involves really spending time with it and getting to know your goals and getting to know your vision. But that also starts with, it's hard to envision something if you don't know you.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, and it comes back full circle to the benchmarks and standards and your vision, right?
Absolutely.
You've got that filter that everything else is going to go through and every decision is going to go through. I love it. Go ahead, Thaddeus.
Yeah. So for somebody that, maybe they've never really thought about putting their goals on paper. They've never thought about having this relationship with their goals. what would be an easy first step for somebody to take, or even first 3 steps for somebody to take to be able to implement these and have a better, stronger relationship with their goals?
Absolutely. Ask yourself one question. If I was sitting here 5 years from now, and it was the best 5 years of my life, I was like, woo, I am living my perfect life. I am happy in my business. I'm happy in my life. I'm where I want to be geographically, financially, with family. It is like, it was the best 5 years. I'm the happiest. What would it look like? What would that look like? Remembering SAM, specific, achievable, and measurable, right? When you can say that and you can paint that picture for yourself, now you have your vision. Start making steps towards that. We have a funny thing. One of our things is we have a plot of land down in Tennessee, and one of our things is we're building a cabin down there. So it's a little jab to my wife. We love going out, getting our coffees and all, but it's, would you rather have a coffee today or a floor joist for the cabin? Right. But that 5 year, if you ask yourself that and you can paint that picture, now it's those little steps. Do you want to do this today, or do you want to make a move towards that 5 year vision that you just painted as you're happy where you want to be, right? And I think part of it goes, and my kids are getting to the age where they're looking at future and colleges and things like that. And, conversation I have with them, and it really breaks it down to that, is, we're good at asking people, what do you want to do? And, we target it towards career. What's the first thing you ask somebody you don't know when you're in a group of people? So, hey, what do you do? Right? So we identify people, or we place their identity and we place our identity in what we do. And what I've been talking with my kids, I think this is so crucial, and it leads to that goals and that vision, whether it's personal or even in business, is not asking what you want to do, but what kind of life do you want? What kind of life? The do to get to that, do whatever the hell you want, right? But what do you want, right? What do you want out of life? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do, right? So I have this conversation with my kids. It's like, okay, you ready? Stop. Let's not think about what college what degree, what job. What do you want? What do you want? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay put and have, an acreage? What do you want? If you can figure that out, then your career, your job, find something you love, you enjoy, you're passionate about, and work it to get to what you want, right?
So what I'm hearing is you're not pushing your kids into going to school just for the sake of going to school.
Absolutely not. It's funny. So my oldest, she's a senior this year. She wants to go, my kids, a little backstory, my kids are dual citizens. I'm actually American. So my kids are dual citizens. And she wants to go to Philadelphia to study American history. She loves American history. Her mom is like, well, you can't just go to college to go to college. If you're not going to be a history teacher, then, that's stupid. And me, I'm like, American history is awesome. You want to go to college for American history? Have at her, have fun, right? I mean, you can get a job at a national park. You can get your master's and do research. You can go learn all you want to do and be a personal trainer when you're done. Like
Right.
it's,
you can do it just for fun. Not even take the classes you need to get a degree. Just go take the classes you want.
Go, if you want to learn it, you want to do it, go have fun. Not to create career students or, but it's, I don't know. I think, I think we don't live life to enjoy life sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know a very kind of left turn to the whole conversation, but it does go back to that goals and vision and all, right?
Totally. Well, and the idea too that you get to taste stuff, right? Like your daughter, she's 17, 18 years old, right? She's not supposed to have her life figured out yet.
No. No.
Right? And even in business, like, gosh, I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've set a goal, gone after it, not paid attention along the way, just went for it. And at the end of it, I looked around and was like, is this it? Right? Like I thought I was supposed to feel differently than what I actually feel right now in hitting this. And I mean, if I had done what you did and actually just paid attention to those goals and had those weekly meetings, revisited it, I could have changed directions and gone in a different way and gone after something that actually mattered to me. Right. And for whatever reason, I didn't do that. And I think that's a lot of business owners where they go after things that society thinks is success to them, but in reality, it's the amount of people you're impacting. And
absolutely.
If you're not paying attention to those key metrics along the way, the things we talked about here, the things that you teach, you might end up at your destination of your goal, but not be happy with what you've done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's all about, you can chase success or what the world and everyone, tells you what success is. But that's where, again, you sit back and go, what makes me fist pump when I get out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
What makes me, at the end of 5 years, if I envision that, what's going to, what's that look like? And I'll tell you, when I walk people through that, just that even, what in 5 years, if it was, and when they're really honest with themselves, very few is it, puking money, right? Like they want to just puke money. It's not the big fancy houses. It's not the big fancy cars, when they get really honest with themselves. It's just the lifestyle. It's the life it's more time with their kids or their grandkids, depending on where they are in their life. It's, more freedom to do the things they want. Most of the time when it's a second house that somebody's talking about, it's actually like a cabin or something small and recreational that they can get away. It's the travel, they get the, experience. And that's part of, come full circle around, creating a business that provides you the lifestyle you desire.
Yeah.
And it's, if I sit across the desk and one of them first questions I'll ask is, if you could, operate in your unique ability and wake up every morning going to work in your business, and when you wake up, you're fist pumping because you get to go to work, what would it be that you're doing? Right. And I've yet to have somebody, I want to be the CEO and I want to drop the hammer and like rule the world, right? Like a lot of times, especially in the construction industry, where I find that sweet spot of those business owners right now is I want to still be kind of on site with the guys because they love the camaraderie, they love that dynamic. I want to, have the customer, see their dream fulfilled, right? that's where they want to play.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, yeah, that's where they're happy. They're happy working with the customer. They're happy with the excitement of the customer getting what they wanted. They're happy with, working with the employees and having that, that bond. It's not I want to sit in the office chair and review my numbers like Joe told me I need to. Yeah.
Totally. Oh man, if I could do this all day long and just sip whiskey and have great conversations, I think that's it. That's a solid fist pump for me.
We should turn this into a daily thing, except for we don't become alcoholics. My wife continually tells me, she's like, that's not part of your job. I'm like, yeah, it is. This is part of what we do. It's actually to sit there and have engaging, impactful conversations and provide value with the wisdom that we share on our calls. So,
absolutely.
So with that, I think it's a perfect segue into, unfortunately, wrapping up our conversation, although I'm sure that we can continue on more and more in depth. As everybody is watching, you can find Joseph at highperformingcontractor.com. When we have our show notes go out, we will put that in there as well as a link to that. Thank you so much for taking the time, Joseph, out of your day to sit and chat with it. We absolutely appreciate it. Some great nuggets, some great wisdom, some great value. I've got half the notes because I missed half of it with the internet. But to officially sign off, no matter what platform you are watching us on, be sure to subscribe and follow along for our stories and for more podcasts. Obviously, if you poured one and watched with us, or if you poured 2 or 3, please do not go over the legal limit. Do not drink and drive, especially getting close to the holiday season. So that's why I switched to water, because I have to drive tonight. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers, bud.